Hello everyone, Darren here, and this is the first part of my 1K sub celebration. It's going to be a garage tour, but I have mixed it up a little bit, so feel free to skip to the part of the video that you would like to see, and I will have annotations in the description, hopefully, or shortcuts. Anyway, these are my favorite, starting off, these are my favorite premium tanks. Mostly it may be because of the looks or the particular tank, or maybe even how the tank performs. We have the Atomic and the Huntsman because they are Centurion tanks. I pretty much have some of them dressed up for my project. In this case, the Jordanian Centurion here, because it didn't make sense to have an American flag or a British flag on something with Jordanian unit markings, so I dressed it up with a Jordanian flag. The Atomic, the same thing. I have Australian flags on it because it is an Australian tank. Next up, of course, though, we have the Aguila. I think that's how it's pronounced. It is one of my favorites because it's a nice looking tank. I don't really like the naked tanks, although some of them look nice, but at the same time I don't like the gaudy hero tanks. I like the HMH, or the more realistic looking of the tanks. And in this case, it's a Mexican tank. This historically, the Hawk 30 was meant to be exported to Mexico, so it's a Mexican light tank. That's kind of why I like it. It's a nation not represented. Next up is the Striker. I like it basically because of the looks. It fits with my project theme. It just looks really, really good, and the skin was developed with help from my favorite artist, Grey Weasel UK. Shout out to him. He makes great artwork, and hopefully you've been seeing some of that on the forums. But it's just an overall very pretty looking tank destroyer. Next up is the AMX 1357 and the M51 Super Sherman, both the HMH versions. And why are these my favorite, you ask? Or these particular skins my favorite? Well, it's because they represent the nation of Israel. Again, another nation not represented with its own tree in the game. And because I don't have a political stance on the nation of Israel, and they would have a very interesting tech tree in the game, I really would support having tanks dressed up as Israeli tanks if we do not get an actual tech tree. And I honestly think the Israeli tech tree would be a super easy one for even Wargaming console branch to make, because it's a bunch of already existing tanks in the game that they could literally just dress up and change the stats a little bit. Next up is the Shashka, another very nice, pretty TD that I like. Fits my project well, developed again with help from my favorite artist. It looks really, really nice, and even his rough draft sketches, this whole thing was dressed up in foliage, and it looked really nice, and I like Cold War tanks. Next up, Primo Victoria. Why? Because it's a Centurion, and it's a Primo Victoria, by Sabaton, one of my few actual bands that I really enjoy listening to. So the fact that it's a Centurion tank, and it's one of my favorite bands, I enjoy it. Next up, Strixvon 81. Nothing much to really say about this one. It's a Centurion. There's nothing more I really need to say. But that concludes the first section of the garage tour. The next section of the garage tour is going to be all my tier 10s. So just going down the list quickly, we have the M48A5 Patton, the T110E5 Heavy Tank, the T57 Heavy Tank, the T110E4 TD, the Centurion Action X, the FV4202. Then we have the Chieftain, a tank I will not play, along with the FV4202. Then we have the FV215B. Then we have the Super Conqueror. And you're going to see I really have almost all the British tanks. Then we have the FV 4005 with another name that many of you probably know, but I will not be saying. Then we have the Badger. And then we have the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen, followed by the Leopard 1. Then we have the AMX 13105. Then the French AMX 30B, the competitor to the Leopard in the Euro project. Then we have the Batchat 25T. Then the AMX 50B, followed by the AMX M454 with the 120mm gun option. Then we have the T62A, the Object 140, the IS-7. Then we have the Object 277, followed by the Object 705A, lots of objects, can't you tell? Then the Object 260. Still no idea why that's in my garage. I borrowed that to review for you guys. Then we have the WZ-1321, followed by the WZ-1115A. It's too many ones. Then the STB-1. Then the TVP-5051, followed by the Kronvon and the Striksvon 103B, followed by the Polish 60TP Super Heavy, then the Progetto 65, and then we close with the mercenary tanks of the Chisel and the Machine. And that concludes this part of the garage tour. With our second to last part of the garage tour, we have my three favorite Tier 10 tanks. That would be the Centurion Action X, no more comment needed, and the STB-1, and the Progetto 65. And why I like these tanks is because they all kind of somewhat play similar to how I like to play. The STB-1 and the Action X actually being very close together in characteristics in some aspects that I feel really at home playing. And then with the Progetto 65, it's just a unique tank, and it's the second tank that I 3-marked at Tier 10. And with the STB-1 being a close one for me to 3-mark. But again, they all play very similar to my personal play style, which is why I enjoy them. In the next segment, I will be covering the Centurion tanks in a ranked order. So let's take a look. Starting with number 7, we have the Huntsman. The reason this is at the bottom of the list is because it doesn't have side skirts, which makes it a lot easier for the tank to be taken out by HE with spots in the tracks that go straight to the hull. Starting with number 6, we have the regular Centurion 1, and I just don't really like it because it's nothing special. It's an exact stats version of the Huntsman, but with side skirts. With number 5, we have the Striksvon 81. It is a Swedish Centurion 1, so nothing really special in that department. Followed by number 4, the Primo Victoria. None more to be said. I already described why I like the Primo Victoria in my premium tanks section of the video, but I do enjoy it more with its skin over the SRV 81. With number 3, it is the Atomic. For some reason, it's right there at number 3 because it performs. It feels like it performs a lot better than the Primo Victoria, but it's because of that reason alone and not the missing side skirts that it is at number 3. Number 2 is the Centurion 7-1 because it is a better sent one, and it is the first Centurion that you are introduced to the famous 105 L7 British gun. And then with number 1, you guessed it, the Centurion Action X. And there's nothing more that needs to be said about it. I just really love the look of the Centurion Action X. And I really honestly would not mind if they added more Centurion variants to the game. And that concludes part 1 of the 1K sub celebration video. Again, thank you all for helping me out and supporting me. And stay tuned as I'm going to have plenty more videos coming up with a super special giveaway stream at some point over break.